Hello, this is Raul Ramirez of the Catch Wrestling Alliance, where we help you elevate your grappling, and together we keep real wrestling alive. Thank you very much for listening and watching, either on our YouTube channel. We're also on Twitch, also, and then anywhere you get your podcasts, we're there, right? Even some obscure thing. I think we're even like on Audible and all that. So, for those of you who listen to audiobooks, our podcast is on there too. So in between books, you can listen to it. Today, actually, we have some video things to show. Um, I'll just describe them too when I show them. They're super short clips. But yeah, we have a really cool show because it's like learning catch wrestling is like one thing, but then you can see how you can use it in other things. Because I think quite often, at least in combat sports, or at least people online, it's like they want to try to see how useful catch wrestling can be in MMA, which we've already seen that wrestling, amateur wrestling, is one of the best forms of uh, like one of the best styles you can learn for MMA. So anyway, I think that is kind of like already known and established. So I think that's why I like to show like how catch wrestling kind of blends into even sumo wrestling and whatnot. But also something that I'm also an expert at is Chinese kickboxing or Sanda. So just to let you know, my background, I'm not just a fan of Sanda. I'm a two-time U.S. Champion of Sanda, so two-time U.S. national champion. I trained in Sanda in Beijing, China, at the sports university there, at Beijing University of Physical Education. I trained with one of the best coaches, one of the guys who was like the founder of the sport of Sanda. So what it is like kickboxing first and foremost, but it has more of a wrestling background or more of a wrestling element to it than Muay Thai or I think Muay Thai is probably the closest that I can think of that has some kind of like say like some takedowns and stuff. Muay Thai they call them like dumps, or you can like some trips and stuff like that. But Sanda is definitely more sophisticated in the types of takedowns and stuff that they employ. And so you'll kind of see in some of the clips here. So for those of you who are watching the live stream, so either on Twitch um, or YouTube, you'll be able to see some of these clips. For those of you who are only listening, I'll just describe them because I mean there's actually a really cool like a suplex that I'll show you and all that. So why are we talking about Sanda right now though? Is because right now, as we speak, it's not over yet, but it's like a week-long World Junior Wushu Championship. So it's the world competition, but it's for the juniors. So basically, it's like the under 18, so the teens, right, basically. But they're calling them, boys and girls and whatnot. Um, but I think they're all like teenagers. Anyway, they're not like tiny little kids, right? So anyway, so they're definitely old enough to show some really great technique. And but so I want to kind of show you some of the grappling stuff, or at least some of the takedowns and stuff that you can see that are like kind of transferable. And this is one of the things that I think people don't quite understand because quite often, like say when I teach, because at UCLA I teach both Sanda and catch wrestling, so they're two different classes, right? But quite often I can show the same takedown, right? Because in both classes, because they're actually used in both styles. So, and this is one of the things that attracted me to catch wrestling because of the Sanda background that I have. This seemed like catch wrestling seemed to just like blend seamlessly right into what I did or what I was doing, and so that's why I want to show you that how well these blend together. So um, and quite often it's like the same exact takedown. But say like in catch wrestling, you'd want to definitely follow up with going for that pin, staying on top of them. But in Sanda, the main difference would be like once you get the takedown, then you have to stand back up and continue to strike. right? So let's go and show. Actually, I just have two clips here. So let's see. I think this is the one. Let me see.
The trouble here and feels so difficult to counter Fatih Muhammad techniques here.
Great. All right. Yeah, that was exactly the one I wanted to show. Where it's like you see. Oh darn! I forgot what country the boy was from, but I anyway, it doesn't matter. What we're seeing is actually a technique that you've seen that I've even highlighted in sumo. They've done it a few times in sumo, where you'll have the person kind of underneath them. They'll trap the elbows, and in this case, in the Sanda case, which was really cool, really spectacular, the boy was able to like arch the back, so get that suplex action going, and then once the opponent started falling over, then you kind of hip heist it. So you turn your torso downwards and you land on top of them, right? So this is stuff that like totally like is in both, right? Sanda and catch wrestling. So it's like a perfect example about like how you can like say for people who want to learn about different things besides just MMA or how catch wrestling can apply in MMA. It can like you can do it in Sanda as well. There's world competition in Sanda too. So depending on whatever country you're in, it'd be great to build it up in the United States. Like we have like the tiniest team. Um, I'm not even sure who coaches it nowadays. So I think they're based out of Arizona now, but hopefully we can kind of build that up again. So let me show you another example. I think quite often this is more commonly known as like a headlock throw or a hip throw, or in England you might call it a cross buttocks. So let's go and show you the next one here.
Here win for Tam Hee Chan.
So that was like perfectly done by the Korean boy. Um, like I just go ahead and watch it one more time because it's like we'll describe it after.
Here win for Tam Hee Chan.
All right, so you saw how it's like they start using their boxing, right? They get closer to each other, and then once they tie up, all it is timing really. And then you can set up your cross buttocks throw. I think it was one that we showed recently, or definitely have a video on it somewhere. You definitely learn about it in our CWA Academy. It's definitely one of the fundamental moves. So, kind of showing some of these that are like kind of part of quintessential catch wrestling. So you can see how like there's just so much like overlap. And again, they're two different styles, right? It's not like some people try to say, oh, it's all grappling, but it's there's the thing is like kick kung fu and all that. Like it's been around for the longest time. Um, so the it's that's why you'll have a lot of grappling stuff in it. And so then when they wanted to develop the sport of Sanda, they couldn't neglect the grappling aspect because a lot of traditional kung fu styles have some form of grappling in it. So of course they're gonna have the striking stuff because like a lot of people think of um, like striking when you think of kung fu and stuff. And so a lot of styles, of course, because they're not pure like ground stuff, pure wrestling stuff, or pure striking stuff. So they'll have each traditional kung fu style will have kind of like a blend of say like joint locks. Or a lot of times it's wrist locks, a lot of takedowns, a lot of kind of like stand up grappling to get a takedown, and of course striking. Right. So um, that's why in the sport Sanda that they developed, it is a mix of kickboxing and a lot more grappling. So you can lift someone up, suplex them. You can lift someone up and slam them down. In world competition, they compete on a platform. They call it a lei tai, and you can throw someone off of that. It's padded all around, so it's it's safe. It's actually that's the criticism that I have of sumo wrestling, where they compete on a clay platform, but there's no padding around it. It's like I don't mind the clay platform, but they should really pad the surrounding better. I think because you're getting all these needless injuries to the sumo wrestlers, and they're competing at a really high level, and if they fall off the platform, I've seen it many times where someone really they're not really taking too much injury during the match, but that what was it like maybe 2.5-3 foot fall, and it's like if they don't land on their foot just right, then it tweaks their knee and all that. So at least in Sanda, the Lei Tai, everything's padded, right? So if you get thrown off the stage, the platform, you won't get messed up too bad. It's all cushioned, right? So hopefully these videos that I showed kind of give a good example of that. And so right now the competition is still going on. Unfortunately, I think from what I've seen, I think the United States practitioners were already knocked out. I think, I don't know how many weight divisions we have right now, or if we've filled up all the weight divisions, but at least the two Americans, one was a boy, one was a girl, they were knocked out like in the first match that I saw. Someone from the United States, like they were beaten. So hopefully, if you're listening from another country, hopefully your people are still in there. It looks like I see Vietnam a lot. They're doing really well. Definitely a lot of, I think Egypt is doing really well. Of course, China and stuff. So yeah, I think it's another sport you can get excited about because you can see the grappling aspect in it. All right. Okay, so let's go ahead and we got a couple questions. So let's go ahead and answer them. So Lachowski, did you ever train any styles of traditional kung fu? Just out of curiosity. Yes, I've trained in several. So I was always interested in um, a lot of the traditional kung fu stuff, and but plus I think I got first into the sports stuff, so the Sanda stuff, so the fighting, the kickboxing stuff. Um, but at the same time, I was learning a lot of traditional stuff, and here in uh, LA, I was able to find a really great instructor who knew a lot of like the fighting aspects, a lot of the joint lock stuff, but in like a very realistic way. So I learned several styles of even Tai Chi, several styles of um, kind of like these other kind of traditional styles where but aren't considered like meditative. So like Tai Chi and other kind of meditative styles are all about like paying attention to your breath, maybe doing things a little bit more slow, um, and so that way it becomes meditative, right? So you can kind of like zone out, and all the movements are still like fighting movements, and so they can still be like applicable in fighting, even catch wrestling and MMA or whatever. So um, I think, and so with since we're speaking about kung fu, right, since I got a question about kung fu, there was an article. It was a few years ago, but it was by the UN, so the United Nations. So I think people have to kind of know about this because, like, I think in every sport, like that's why people talk about like McDojos and this and that. So it's like in every sport, you'll have the people who are maybe just claiming to know stuff, and they don't quite know. But what you've seen in China is that like there are a lot of people who claim to be like masters of specific kung fu styles. But what the UN, United Nations, found in researching this, they found specifically for Tai Chi, is that like only the tiniest percentage of Tai Chi that's practiced around the world is like quote unquote authentic or legit. So what that means is that the say like the instructor, they know like not only the forms or whatever, like the movements, but they also know like the ins and outs, like the fighting applications and how to like really like use it for self-defense, right? And so the vast majority, according to like, so it's not just my opinion, right? So even I'm just citing the research. Yeah, the vast majority is like just like someone who maybe learned some kind of mainstream sequence of moves, and then they're teaching. So that's unfortunate, but you'll see it in all kinds of styles, including catch wrestling, and you see it a lot. I think even for those of you who follow martial arts a lot, you'll see it a lot in China, where it's like you had like one guy who was like has an MMA background, and he was like challenging all the masters, quote unquote. But one good thing that happened from that is that I believe the government. I don't think they made a law, right? But they just kind of like did a declaration where it's like you can't like people can't like easily just or like some kind of thing where it's like you can't just call yourself a master, or you can't proclaim that without like maybe like having some more kind of like credentials or something like that. So uh, there it it did kind of create some good out of that, where like maybe there's more of a certification stuff. Um, yeah. All right, so let's get to the next question. Kazaya, right? So hopefully I'm pronouncing your names correctly. But wouldn't it be better if Sanda had MMA gloves? Um, yes and no. I mean, you're still able to do some of the, you're still able to do like all the throws and stuff. And I think kind of like one of the things that I found is like by doing some like the grappling with these big boxing gloves on, I think it helps you get like better at using your grip, right? So it's not just so gripping is not just like your hand grip, right? Like you're clamping around, right? But it can be using basically kind of gripping from like the tip of your finger all the way down to like the mid forearm. So you really wrap around the person. You really get used to getting like a really strong overhook, because you can't just like grab around their forearm or even above the elbow. So I mean, it I guess maybe has its pluses and minuses or whatever, but I think there could be some good that you can get from that, and also because it's not MMA and you don't continue onto the ground, and they don't have the joint locks, so even like you can't do like a standing armbar or whatever. So you don't quite need the fingers exposed. So I guess since right now that it is like a striking art, so they'll still keep it with boxing gloves. But with that being said, what you'll see, like you kind of see a version of Sanda with MMA gloves. It's MMA, like in one championship. Actually, just this past weekend, there were four matches that I could identify that had like Sanda practitioners. And it was so like one championship had two events this past weekend, and so one was like on Amazon Prime, and so that one had two fighters. One was like the Edward Folayang. He was a MMA champion. He was a Sanda champion before that, from the Philippines. Unfortunately, he got knocked out or TKO'd or whatever. He's doing pretty well up until then. And then you had a woman who just narrowly lost a split decision. I think really she should have won, because I think she's just being too timid or too respectful to the other person. Because I think that's why she lost the split decision. Because I think if she was just like even like 5% more like aggressive, then I think that's all it would have taken to have like the extra judge give it in her favor. Because no one got dominated in that match. It was like her name was Lin Hachin. So she, I believe, was a Sanda champion from China. And then the next day, we had two more Sanda practitioners. So both were from China. One man, Hu Yong, he got a knockout. He knocked out his opponent. I forgot where they were from, but Yeah, he got a knockout pretty quickly. And yeah, so speaking of like you have like the night where you have like the woman not being as aggressive, then the very next night you had a man Hu Yong and then a woman Meng Bo both being very aggressive, and so they both won their fight. The other thing, Meng Bo is kind of kind of famous. She used to be a little bit more famous because in the UFC you have Zhang Wei Li, who was undefeated for a while. So at that time, she had only lost to this woman Meng Bo. So at that time, that was like Meng Bo's claim to fame, like the only woman to ever get a win in MMA over Zhang Wei Li. But yeah, Meng Bo and the man Hu Young, both Sanda backgrounds, and they both were aggressive. So they're really like putting a lot of pressure on their opponents. And yeah, they both got the knockout. And the Meng Bo one was like super fast. She just dropped her opponent and just like stayed on top of her and just like ground and pounded her out. Um, so and then yeah, the Hu Young one. They're both really cool. I don't know if you go to their if you go to the one championship, even like their social media page, like they'll have like short clips of the finishes. So you see Meng Bo just drop the her opponent and then back her up against the cage and just like ground and pound her out. And then you see Hu Yong just like I think it was like an overhand right. He just dropped the guy, I believe. Um, So yeah, I think that was the thing. So it's like the you can kind of see Samba with the MMA gloves, but yeah, it would be more an MMA. Yeah, it might be good to see if we ever can talk to them, right, and get their opinion about the grips, right, because they're able to still, I believe, some of them have gotten like submission finishes and stuff. So when we'll actually see Zhang Wei Li, she got a submission finish over like a wrestler, Carla Esparza, recently. Um, she got like a choke. She choked her out and stuff. So I mean, um, she was still able to kind of hang on to Carla while keeping her underneath her. And then um, she was able to transfer that and turn it into a crucifix, and then end up in a choke position. So, maybe all that time in boxing gloves, can help her with, or helped it. Who knows? But that's just kind of my opinion. I do feel like it kind of helps, like spending all that time, doing sanda, having to grab onto the person wearing these big like cushions, right? Kind of helps you to use your whole body in that like getting an overhook or getting that headlock throw. You got to use like that whole body. Get used to using your whole forearm. It's like I said, like grabbing them from the tip of your finger to your arm, to your whole forearm, really pulling them to your body and to trying to get them to move the way you need them to. I think that's at least what doing sounds like kind of taught me. But we'll see. Maybe it might be different for everybody, but we'll see if the like like rules change for Sanda. Yeah, we'll see. I don't know. I haven't heard anything if they're trying to grow the sport or whatever. But at least in the United States, it's not too well known. It was more well known when I was competing in it, but then it just seemed to just like fall off a cliff. So that's the unfortunate thing because it is definitely an exciting sport. And even one championship had to organize or like recognize that it was like one of the most effective styles for MMA. So it was like the top four were according to one championship, right? There's like maybe 2 or 3 years. I think it was maybe 3 years ago they came out with this their article about it. And so the top four styles again were wrestling, sanda, Muay Thai, and Jiu Jitsu. Right, those are the ones that I think, based according to um, like all their fighters and whatnot, like who were the winningest, and it was like the people with the wrestling, sanda, Muay Thai, and Jiu Jitsu backgrounds. Right, so and I do feel like maybe they're a little biased for Muay Thai or whatever. Not saying that Muay Thai isn't great. I enjoy like all kickboxing really, but um, uh, like I know that the CEO guy is like Thai, and like he really loves Muay Thai and all that. And so um, that's why they have like Muay Thai um, rules matches, and in those they use MMA gloves, which are is just really cool to see. Um, so I like what they're doing there. Hopefully they can like start adding Sanda rules matches, and I'm sure then they would just like what they do with Muay Thai. They have the MMA gloves, so that would be cool. Um, so everyone, write write your like email them requesting Sanda and have them request catch wrestling. I think they'd be open to maybe having some well, no, maybe not catch wrestling rules matches, but having people who do catch wrestling in their grappling or the submission grappling division now. Because right now they're doing something pretty interesting. They're having some really famous jiu-jitsu practitioners go up against a lot of Russians. So far, what I've seen is like they have these sambo practitioners, or at least people they're claiming are like high-level sambo practitioners going up against um, high-level jiu-jitsu practitioners, and they've all gotten beat. So they've all gotten submitted at least. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, they all got submitted, or they they still got beat because they were like not able to uh, like get any submission attempts on the jiu-jitsu practitioner. So um, that'd be pretty cool if they start getting some like so like getting some of us in there, or so maybe write another letter to what Chatri, the CEO of One Championship, Kazaya. Yeah, maybe the boxing gloves do help. Yeah, because at least it gives you a different dimension. So it's almost like a handicapping yourself. They say like so you can kind of really make the most out of getting that grip. So like by kind of like by putting the boxing gloves like putting on these giant pillows, right? So then trying to get a hold of the person. Um, yeah, it can at least add a different dimension to it. All right. So keep on asking your questions, making your comments. We do have on the Catch Wrestling Alliance website, we do have a course for Sanda and catch wrestling. So, so basically, it's kind of what I'm talking about right now, where it's like in that course, I show that there's a lot of similar takedowns that are in catch wrestling and in Sanda, and I show you how to get these takedowns in a striking situation. So it would be like either MMA situation, or you can kind of use them in Muay Thai. Sometimes they'll complain, or of course, if you do Sanda, right? So if you're in the United States, I'd recommend getting the course and then learning and then trying to promote Sanda, or at least trying to build it up so that we can have like a good team in international competition. That'd be great. That'd be pretty cool to see because like we have people from the United States in all kinds of sports, but for some reason this one's neglected. And even for like kung fu stuff, so the way they divide it, so over the umbrella term is called wushu. So it's like martial arts. That's what it literally means in Chinese. And so then they have the forms half, and then they have the fighting half. So the fighting half is called sanda, and then the form stuff is called tao lu. And so in the United States, the form stuff is actually really popular. If you go to say like UCLA or all these universities, a lot of them have like the forms teams, right? They have forms training, but then they most likely will not have any of the fighting or the sanda training. So it's like that side is like alive and well in the United States. But we've got to have some brave souls who are willing to maybe do the kickboxing stuff, So because yeah, it's full contact, so you can get knocked out. But it's like I don't know. It's fun to me. So it's like really kind of like in catch wrestling. I see catch wrestling and sanda like as like a puzzle, right? So you gotta figure out, how maybe not to get hit, or how to dodge. Like I don't know if it was in one of the short clips that I showed where There's one boy who's competing right now, who's really good at like getting the opponent to throw that cross, and then he's really good at level changing, and then he goes in for the double leg, and then he lifts the person up and slams them. Um, it's like it's all a puzzle, like faking someone out to make them throw the punch, and then you level change, you're not even there, and you grab hold of them. So it's a fun style. It's really exciting. And of course, different from Muay Thai or Taekwondo or these other styles. But I think still, fun. And hopefully we can build it up because the other half, like the forms half, that's also I guess exciting. They have like swords and spears and all these things, and so it's fun to watch because it's like it's almost like I don't know if in gymnastics how they do like that floor routine where it's like the woman like does all these flips like, and they try to make it as exciting as possible, and showing the skill and whatnot. So a lot of these wushu forms are kind of like that. They'll do a lot of tumbling and flips and jumps and all that stuff, very difficult and whatnot. And but yeah, it's like what they get like a score from the judges, and so in some that you can get. Of course, there's a point system, but I mean, like, if you can get a knockout, at the adult stage, if you get a knockout, it's like you don't leave it to the judges, or if you can just throw the person around a lot. I think there's also if you throw them off the stage, I believe it's like 3 times. It's like you win because it's I think they can't even uh, stay on the stage, so it's like they just call it almost like a tech fall or something like that, where it's like you just showed so much dominance they can't even stay on the stage with you. So it's fun. It's fun. Yeah. So feel free to ask any more questions. Just know that on our website we have a catch wrestling and Sanda course, so you can kind of find out a lot of like the main like ways you can combine catch wrestling into Sanda situation or a MMA situation, because it works. And like I think it would make MMA a little more interesting or more exciting, because like right now, I think especially like in UFC, you'll see kind of like these guys doing like MMA, like so they're doing like a little bit of jujitsu, a little bit of wrestling, a little bit of boxing or Muay Thai, and then but then like seeing who's the best at that, right? So it's more surface level stuff, and then seeing who's the best at it or who's the most athletic. Um, and so if we can get people integrating some of the like a wider variety of techniques, I think it can become more exciting. I mean, I'm sure people are really excited by it, but I've gotten kind of bored of, especially watching UFC. It seems like, at least in my opinion, a lot of people kind of fighting the same style, and then whoever kind of holds out or like doesn't get knocked out, or maybe is a little bit more athletic or whatever, can kind of edge out, get the win. I think sometimes that's why I enjoy watching like the one championship stuff, because you are getting people who are specialists like at Sanda or even specialists at Muay Thai or these other styles. And so you're seeing maybe a little bit of a wider variety of techniques being used in an MMA situation. So I think that just tends to be a little more interesting to me personally. You can like whatever you want, you can watch whatever you want, but that's just my opinion. All right. So if you want to learn catch wrestling, feel free to become a student on our channel, or you can come train with us in Los Angeles. You can also train with my really good buddy in South Carolina, John Strickland, and you can look him up on Facebook at American Hook Wrestling. Um, so if you're not near either one of us, yeah, feel free to join our online channel, our online academy on our website, catchwrestlingalliance.com. You can feel free to support our mission here, keeping real wrestling alive, by becoming a member of our YouTube channel. That you can just click under any of the videos or whatever, and it should say join. You can support us at any level, and we offer like cool videos, And we actually did speaking of wrist locks and stuff. I uploaded a video for members only on our YouTube membership site where it is a wrist lock that I used a lot in not only catch wrestling but even in jujitsu. I use that. I still use it. So I'm doing jujitsu like all the time. So I train several days a week, not only in catch wrestling but yeah, mostly jujitsu stuff. Um, so a lot of the stuff I show you really works, and I use it all the time. But a lot of times it's like you just have to understand the move, and then you'll be able to employ it. So you can have a wider variety or wider repertoire of techniques, and you'll be able to use them, and they won't seem so like strange or like low percentage, because once you know a technique really well, and you're practicing it, you're drilling, you're trying it on all kinds of people, then it becomes more of a higher percentage move. So that's kind of what it's all about, like putting the time in and the drilling and stuff. So put a wrist lock uh, a video on our membership thing, and so like to access it, I guess you do like the middle tier. Um, and so yeah, so but besides that, we have like a bunch of cool other videos and stuff. Like one of like a seminar we did at the home of Frank Gotch, where he used to train in the park and stuff. So there's tons of things up there. So we try to just keep putting stuff up there. Alternate endings, right? So maybe on our main channel we show like a technique and a way to finish the move. Then there's usually several ways to finish a move, and so then maybe we'll show like a different ending and stuff. So yeah, all that stuff's up there, and all that stuff really goes to so like we had our event, was it a few weeks ago now. So all just so you know, like all that stuff goes to that, like having events, and because all you have to pay for all these different little things, these different expenses and stuff. So it goes to all that. So every little cent really helps. So I appreciate any of it. All right. Yeah. So we'll just be back next week, hopefully, with another podcast, live stream. And feel free to keep asking your questions. And hopefully, all this helps you to elevate your grappling. And then together, we keep real wrestling alive.